Hello, Ben, can you hear me?
Hello, Ben, can you hear me?
Yeah. Phil, can you hear me?
Ben, can you hear me?
I think so. Phil, can you hear me?
Okay, now can anybody hear me?
I can't hear you. Phil, are you hearing me? No?
I can hear you now, Don.
Okay, but I can't, I don't hear Phil. I sent him an email message or a chat message that we're here. He must be able to see us.
Yeah, I can see you, but I don't know why you can't hear me.
I can hear you.
Oh, you can. Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you fine.
Okay.
It's Ben that can't hear us.
Oh, all right.
You can see him though, right?
Yes, I can see him. Yes.
Yeah. He just looks like he turned something off.
Okay. I'm on. I just had speakers turned off for a while.
Oh, okay. All right.
All right. I guess I got to get ready here, huh?
Yeah, I think so.
We were setting it up. We're going to stream this on YouTube in case we ever get more than 100 people.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Whoops. And now I got an echo from YouTube. Shush, 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 shush. All right. I'm back and live, and it's up on YouTube. So don't say anything your mother wouldn't want to hear.
Okay.
Okay.
So now, Ben, how do we get this to cut over so that my presentation shows up?
I'm going to stop sharing and then you go down and share the screen. Do you have a slide you want to go ahead and throw up there?
Yeah, I've got one open right now.
Let's test it. All right. So I'm off and go down and share your screen.
Down and share screen. Okay.
And usually you just take the default, which is your whole monitor. You can pinpoint certain apps, but usually just take the,
Yeah, okay. Okay, I'm switching over. I've got a second screen here that
okay.
that's got the presentation on. So let's try that now. Did that show up then?
It did. It did. You're in the author mode, not the presentation mode. So I get to see all of your slides, but
Right. Yeah,
that's fine. That's fine.
I've got
If anybody's listening, make sure up in the top right corner, you go to speaker view instead of gallery view. Then you'll see Phil's presentation full screen instead of just in a postage stamp. Perfect. Look at that. We almost look like we know what we're doing.
So yeah, what did you say was it standard view or
speaker view? Up in the top right corner, there's a view button.
Yeah, I got that.
Speaker view will make whoever's sharing full screen.
Okay, so I click on side-by-side speaker because that's what I have.
That's what I have too.
Or standard.
Try either one. Standard probably, but
All right, I think standard works.
Everyone should see Phil's opening slide. And
Okay. So from your end then, Ben, I'm all set. Everything looks okay.
You're all set. And just as we'll do an introduction, and then we'll also mute everybody else so that we don't get background noises.
Okay.
If people have questions, they can leave them in the chat room, and then we'll feed those to you at the end of your presentation, I guess. That seems to be
Okay. Yeah, that would be just fine.
Okay. All right, so Ben, you're going to feed those questions to Phil. Is that correct?
That sounds right.
Yeah. Okay.
Somebody will. Yep.
All right.
How, Ben,
Yep.
how do I get access, or can you send me afterwards the link to the YouTube feeds?
Yes.
I may want to share this with some of the family members.
Yep. It's recording right now, and then I'll put a link to that on the website. On the event calendar, I go back to tonight's event and just put a button on there for the YouTube. Seems to be the easiest, but
Okay.
I can send you the link.
Yeah, if you
Actually,
I don't even know where, I've never been to your website. I don't know.
I'm sorry, St. Paul Audubon, stpaulaudubon.org.
Oh, okay.
But give me a sec. I might be able to, now that we're already streaming, this is the first time we've tried live streaming. So we're, live streaming.
Well, Don, are you spending the winter down in the cities, or are you up north here?
Well, I'm both. So I'm usually down here for a couple of weeks, and then I go back to my cabin.
Okay.
And up on the gunfront.
Yeah.
So I will be heading there on Monday.
Okay.
For a couple of weeks, and
wear your long johns.
Yeah. Well, it looks like it's going to be pleasant up there, at least what I consider pleasant, because the temps are going to be in the tens, between 0 and 10.
Yeah,
and maybe a little higher sometime.
Yeah, next week looks a lot better.
Yeah, it'll be. I'm fine with that. I mean, and the winds look to be light, so. I've been up there when it's been 30 below with 25-mile-an-hour wind. So
yeah, okay, yeah, you know what you're getting into.
I know what I get into. Yeah, I've been up there for 25 years. So
okay.
Yeah.
Hey, gentlemen, do you have a chat box open? It might be a button down near the bottom. I put the link to YouTube in there. If you want to test that, that's tonight's live link, but it might also be where the video goes tomorrow. Not sure. There may be a different URL tomorrow, but
I say again where that
right.
is.
Down in the bottom where all the tools are, one of them is a voice bubble that says chat.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. Open that.
Yeah.
That's where folks can leave questions and stuff. And I just entered a link in there. If you've got anybody that wanted to watch tonight, if they can't make it to this Zoom, it's on YouTube Live. And then tomorrow, that link might be the recorded one, or we'll publish a new one if it gives us something different for the recorded, saved version.
Ben, would you please explain that to the audience?
Yep, everybody's listening. Everybody's.
Oh, okay. All right.
You got 20 folks listening to you as we speak.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah. And then, well, what happens if they want to ask a question? What do they do?
They can put the question in the chat box.
Oh, yeah, I see it right there at the bottom. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
And we'll just pile those up and then try to get through them at the end of the thing.
Okay.
If there's not a huge crowd later, we can also just open up. People can ask questions live, but this seems to be a little easier.
Okay, fine.
Whatever, not have background noise.
Yeah.
Right. All right. So you'll be there. Ben, you'll be there holding my hand all the way there.
Yep, we should be good. We should be good. I'm muting out a couple of people. We're good here. All right.
Yeah, okay.
What time are we at here?
Well, it looks like we're at about 8 minutes too.
Oh, yeah. This is give people.
So we can wait a bit. If anyone's out there, can anyone out there hear me? Ben,
Yep.
they can all
Yeah,
hear.
you got 27 people listening to you.
Oh, okay. Well, I usually what we do at the beginning of a meeting, as you perhaps will know, is ask the people if what kind of wildlife they've seen, since our last meeting.
Yeah.
So if they care to share that, is that possible to do that?
Sure, I'll start. We had a couple of barred owls hooting and hollering last night in the back, and we're up on the north end of Vadnais Lake. It was kind of fun to hear them in the cool air.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
If anybody wants if anybody wants to respond, you can push your space bar. We'll do a temporary unmute.
Okay.
Or you can.
I do a lot of water quality testing at Bellwyn Conservancy, and while I was doing that a week or so ago, a flight of trumpeter swans just flew over. It was really quite stunning. Yeah, so that was my thrill.
We had a coyote wander through the back fence 2 nights ago.
Oh, wow.
Not sure where he's living, but he's up here on the lake somewhere.
It's so common in my yard because I live nearby a nature center.
Sure.
To see the deer in my yard. So I never think it's anything important to report anymore. So Phil, how cold was it up there in Two Harbors? Did you get 30?
It's been averaging around 15 below at night and about 0 during the day.
Oh yeah, okay.
And there's been a wind every day. Not bad, but
yeah.
You feel it.
Yeah, you feel it. Yeah.
But up here by Two Harbors, we're far enough up that the lake itself is still open. So beautiful sunrises with the sea smoke out there.
Oh yeah, I bet that is. Yeah. Do you have a place right on the shore or?
Yeah, we're on the shore.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, nice. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna keep the video closed
Yes.
because I got blue tape over it anyway.
Yeah.
We got 50 folks already. You may set some records.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
We average about 45 or 50, and we've still got a few minutes. So this is.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Well, I can't hear
We should take bets
anything.
on the. We should take bets on the series before it starts. That's fun.
Now, Ben, from your end, what do you see? You see my screen that says hidden gems?
Yep.
And then do you see the off on the right-hand side, the small?
Yep. You're at the top. I'm in second, and then people line up, and there's some way, way down at the bottom, if you mouse over it, there's a chevron, and you can dig down through all 50, 56 people, 58 people.
Oh, I see.
No, I was just wondering if that next slide image.
Oh, I'm sorry, of the eagle. Yes. Yes.
You're seeing it as well?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
What?
This is about birds or not?
It isn't them. Lost our sights.
You said it was Audubon.
It is.
Yeah, it's St. Paul Audubon Society.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds like we still have an open mic.
Yeah, I should have said it where they were auto muted when they came in. I forgot that switch.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just turning them off as they come in. We're good.
Okay.
There's also a switch at the bottom says mute all, but then Phil
Right.
gets thrown out. So
Yeah. Okay. Well, I lost Phil. I lost Phil now. Where's Phil?
I'm right here.
he's
Oh,
here.
there you are. Okay. All right. Well, yeah, I've got well, less than a minute to go, I think.
Yeah, we'll give people just a second. Yeah, I think you're going to set a record, Phil, and they haven't even heard you talk yet.
Wow.
Okay.
You're at 75. I think 82 was the highest we ever had.
Wow.
75 we've got on. Wow.
So now we switch to the other worry. When you hit 100, nobody else can come in.
Ah, okay.
Oh,
Well,
is that
good
right?
that you're
Then we
recording.
tell them they just got to go to YouTube or something. I don't know. That's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
That's true. We have 86 windows open, but many couples. So you're well over 100 folks.
Wow.
Amazing.
Should I tell them now that they each got to send us $10? Would that be,
Yeah, there you go.
would that be the time?
That's right.
Feel free
tell
to
them that
share
right
my
now.
address.
Yes.
No, I never worked on this job. I've had a bipartisan budget. I work with German and Senate intelligence and bipartisan. These are good American.
Using computer audio.
Well, should we give it a start, Ben? Or
That
are
would be
you're still
fine.
seeing people?
I'm just going to say welcome to the 94 Zoom folks that have joined us tonight, and I'll let Don introduce Phil. Don, actually,
Okay.
introduce yourself a little first.
I'm sorry, what?
Go ahead and introduce yourself a little bit first, and then Phil.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm Don Wendell, and I'm
That's just the way
a
it
member of
works.
St. Paul Audubon Society for some 30 years, and I'm on the speaker committee. So I'm going to introduce Phil Hartley, whose presentation is on the hidden gems of the North Shore. No doubt you're all snuggled in nicely in your homes this cold evening, following, paying attention to the weather and to the guidance. And because of that, no doubt you're also dreaming of days ahead when you can get out and roam around. I know I am. And so Phil Hartley, I've listened to several of his presentations. I've always found them very engaging. So I think you'll find the presentation, his presentation tonight, something to hang your dreams on. So with that, Phil, why don't you just take it away?
Okay, all right. Thanks, Don. And thanks, Ben, for setting this up.
Sure.
Let me start by saying that I'm not a birder as such, or at least I don't consider myself one. I'm a rank amateur at it. I was never really got into birds at all over the years. And about 4 or 5 years ago, I found out why. I was on a Superior hiking trail hike. It was a sponsored hike, and I was the naturalist. You might say I was a groundhog, because if they had a question about what's growing on the ground, I could handle that. But on the hike was a neighbor of ours. I say neighbor because up here I'm in Two Harbors, or close to Two Harbors. If you live within a mile, you're a neighbor. And the neighbor was Jim Lind. Many of you may know him. He was instrumental in writing a couple of books, or involved in writing them, on the North Shore Birding Trail and the Duluth Superior Birding Map. But anyhow, he was along and he was answering questions about birds. And we were all standing around in the parking lot, and someone asked him, "What's that bird?" I didn't hear a thing. And he didn't hear it either. And someone said, "There it goes again." And he says, "Just a minute." And so he pulls out a little thing, puts his hearing aids in, and then says, "Oh, well, that's a whatever it was." And of course, I still hadn't heard a thing, but the light bulb went on. So the next week, I made an appointment, and I went in and got a couple of these. And what a difference. The hearing aids, all of a sudden I could hear birds I'd never heard before. And so long story short is, from a birding's perspective, I've got a lot of catching up to do, and I'm still working on it. And it's a lot of fun. I really enjoy it, but I've got so much to learn. Okay, we'll get started. Before we actually get into hidden gems of the North Shore sites for nature lovers, and I should point out that this was put together for the Minnesota Master Naturalists. They were going to have a conference up here last spring in Two Harbors. So I put together this presentation, Duluth to Silver Bay, to give them some places to visit and things to do while they were up here at Superior Shores in Two Harbors. And all these sites are, pretty close by. And it was because of that I didn't pick out nature sites up in Grand Marais or Ely or something like that. I just stuck to the area within 30, 45 minutes of Two Harbors. Then after talking to Don late last summer, early fall, I tried to incorporate a few more birding type things in it as well. And, but, by then, the birds are starting to migrate out of here. What made it a little more difficult. I didn't have a full season to do it, but still we'll touch on some of the birding aspects as well of these sites. Now, before I get into that, I'd like to just show something else here, a couple of little sequences. I have a Christmas tree farm down by Santee, Minnesota. So I split my time between down there and up here by Two Harbors where I live. This juvenile eagle was sitting there on a post one day, and I was taking photos of it. Notice the eye. I thought it was looking for something to eat. What it was really doing was looking for, where are my parents? And not seeing them, it decided to pounce. And hopping on the ground like that, I didn't realize it at the time, but it was bar hopping. Oh, let me. And here's what it came up with. It came up with a beer can. So you have an underage beer drinker, and it's a, I think he's got kind of poor taste. It's a Bud Light, but here's the can right here. I saved it as a souvenir, which makes you wonder then, where were the parents? Then another sequence I'll show you real quick is this one here. Here you can see a male cardinal sitting in a tree, and I don't know on the screens there how well it shows up, if you can read the text or not, but he's saying, let's have a dinner party. And his mate says, good idea. Let's set the table for all our friends and make name tags. So here's the dinner party table with the goldfinch, the chickadee, the woodpecker, the house finch, another downy woodpecker in this case, gray catbird, house sparrow, white-breasted nuthatch, American tree sparrow, song sparrow, blue jay, red-winged blackbird, dark-eyed junco, brown-headed cowbird, and rose-breasted grosbeak. So then, okay, we've got everybody's here, but save room for us. So the cardinals go to the feeder. And then who invited him or him? Okay, now we'll move into the presentation itself. And there's a lot of sites here. They're in the handout. I hope you've had a chance to take a look at the handout. I'm going to go through a lot of them pretty fast because where they're located, how you find them, what's the best time to go, and so on is all in the handout. So what I'm going to do is kind of summarize some of the points from the handout and just add a little more general information. There's quite a few sites. Some we'll touch on a little bit more than others. There's 2 bonus sites here as well. I put in Jay Cook State Park because that's one of my favorites. It's not in Duluth, it's before you get there, but I figured most people would be coming up from the cities, so they might want to stop there. And then I also put in Crystal Bay up at Tetagooch State Park, which is a little bit beyond Silver Bay. And I'll show you why when we get there. But with Jay Cook State Park, most people go to the park entrance and they drive in by the swinging bridge there. That's a great spot. But as you'll see as I go through here, if it's a tourist spot, I try in this presentation, I try to avoid it. I try to identify the sites where there's very few tourists and most of the people you run into are locals. And the same here with Jay Cook, we'll start with that. Rather than going to the entrance, go around to the back side. The directions are in the handout, but there's a parking lot there. And then you can see over in the fence area, when I move the cursor there, can you see it on the screen? Oh, I guess you're muted. You can. Okay.
Yeah, I can see it fine.
Okay. So back there, that's the park. This is outside the park. You don't even need a state park sticker. It's a parking lot on state land there. But if you're into wildflowers, I found this to be the best place to be. It's great in the fall like this because you got beautiful hardwoods, but in the spring, it just comes alive with flowers in there. As far as I'm concerned, it's the single best place on the North Shore if you're a wildflower lover. The whole woods becomes a carpet of wildflowers. Here's just a quick sampling. There's Dutchman's breeches, trout lilies. What's the next one? I can't think of what it is offhand. But then there's spring beauties and hepatica. So anyhow, that's a great place to go. Generally, you have it all to yourself. And there may be one or two other cars there in that parking lot. That's max. Then getting into Duluth itself, off of Highway 23 at the west end of Duluth. I should put this picture in here because there's no signs. There's nothing that marks this. It's just a small parking lot off the road. This is Beck's Road in Duluth. And you have to look for a parking lot with a couple of rocks that have been painted up by the kids and a low boardwalk. Then you know you're in the right place. But this takes you up to the DWP, Duluth and Western Pacific Railroad Tunnel. And the boardwalk itself is pretty until you have to start climbing. The climb's not for the faint of heart, but it takes you up to the road, the railroad roadbed. And there is a tunnel up there that was built in 2011. It's a 500-foot tunnel. It's just abandoned. Above the tunnel, up on top here, you'll oftentimes see kids from UMD there rappelling up and down the cliff because there's quite a cliff above here. This is some of my family members there one day when we were there. They were going into the tunnel. There we're just about out of it the other end, 500 feet again, looking back into the tunnel. So this is a great place. Again, there's some locals there. You'll hardly ever see any what you'd call tourists because the place is just not described really in any of the literature up there. But it's a fun place to visit. And when you come out of the tunnel, you can walk on the old roadbed at quite a few miles. Actually, you can walk all the way down to Spirit Mountain, the bottom of the ski resort. A couple of the trestles are out and you got to go down creek beds and up the other side, but still it's a fun walk. And I've never done it expressly for birding, but I would think, I don't know why it wouldn't be a good area, especially in the spring as the warblers are going through. The next one is the Magny Snively Trail area. This is actually just off of the Skyline Drive past Spirit Mountain. And this is just a great spot. There's a large parking area there and signage. Again, one or two cars. I think maybe the most I've ever seen is 3 cars there. But the whole area in there it's beautiful hardwood forest. It's full of, in the spring, of large leaved or large flowered trillium. Just a great spot. And here's where I should explain something about the trails in Duluth, such as in here and some of the other spots. It's easier to get lost in Duluth, in the trails in and around Duluth and above Duluth, than it is up north in Superior National Forest or on the Superior Hiking Trail. Further up north, you've got a trail and you just follow it and there's no place else to go. The trails here are an intersection of hiking trails and cross-country ski trails and mountain biking trails and snowmobile trails and horse trails. And it's a spider web. And my advice is, especially if it's a cloudy day, don't go in there without a compass and that, because it's so difficult to stay on the right trail. And it's so easy to come out a couple miles from where you think you're going to come out. And there are no maps that consolidate all these trails and show them, all on a single trail map. So anyhow, word of warning, you can't get lost for very long because you're in Duluth and you're going to come out someplace. But still, it can be very, very confusing. So a beautiful spot in the fall as well. Right there on the Skyline Drive is a beautiful old bridge over the Stewart Creek. Just a gorgeous piece of architecture. Here you can see a group of bicyclists coming across the bridge, but it's worth walking out on the bridge and over to the other side and along in there. Another neat place is Kingsbury Creek, and that's flows down and it flows into the Duluth Zoo. And what you want to do if you're going to visit that is actually park in the zoo parking lot. But then instead of going into the zoo proper, turn around and you'll see this Fairmont Park behind you. And you go through the park and through these cedars, and you're actually on a spur trail for the Superior Hiking Trail. And then you come out. This is another one of the DWP, Duluth and Western Pacific railroad bridges that was abandoned. The bridge that's back in behind here is actually inside the zoo, and there's a fence across there, so you can't get at it without going and paying your admission. But this area up here is just a great area. The creek is flowing through, and just nice big areas where you can relax and picnic and sun yourself on the rocks. And again, you've got your choice of 5 or 6 different trails running in different directions that come off of this area. Yeah. And again, make sure you got a compass along. But it's a beautiful area, and it's directly behind or above, if you will, the Duluth Zoo. Now here's one I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with. That's the Western Waterfront Trail, running along the St. Louis estuary in Western Duluth. You can also, when it bends around and you have a view of Spirit Mountain up there, but there's all sorts of life along the shore. And there's more than just the critters. My wife, Helen, and I were there this fall. Here's a great blue heron, Tennessee warblers out on lily pads, yellow warblers migrating through. So that's a great spot. That's in the book. It's also in both of these books I mentioned earlier, that are put out by the Audubon Society on Duluth birding. Minnesota Point, which is out across the lift bridge, is another great area. Most people hit the beaches up by the swimming pool, and this is past that. And you go out to the very end of where you can drive and park there. You're right next to the airport out there. And as you walk in about, a third of a mile or so, you come to an SNA in there with beautiful stand of old white pine. So a nice trail going through there. This is my favorite, since I got a tree farm. I'm a tree lover, obviously. And this white pine in there is just really impressive.
Yeah.
Now, when you're out on Minnesota Point, you've got a couple of options. One, you can walk along the beach. You can go quite a few, couple of miles along there. There's a couple places where you have to either duck inland or wade out in the water to get around things. But Beach walking is really nice. You have the ruins of an old lighthouse back in there. This lighthouse was right on the tip when it was built in 1850, somewhere in the 1850s. And now it's a couple hundred yards inland and about a third to a half of a mile from the tip. So that's how much the whole point has filled in over the last 150 or so years. So there's what's left of it. There's about 30 feet left. It was a 50-foot structure at one point. But along the shoreline, then you're likely to see plovers and other shorebirds all along there. Not to mention all the seagulls and terns and that flying overhead. One thing you will find in there, if you do go in there, is poison ivy. The place is just laced with poison ivy. And this is actually the first time I've ever seen poison ivy vining like this. But it is considered a vine. I've never really seen it vine, but in there, it's vining. It's everywhere. Now, one thing to do when you go to Minnesota Point, be sure and keep your eye open by the parking areas and look over into the St. Louis River there, the bay side of it, because you see lots of different things just offshore there in the bay. Here's terns, godwits, gribs. And this is one of my favorite photos, red-breasted merganser trying to impress the ladies. Okay, then let's go to the downtown area of Duluth, the Rose Garden. And I put this in just for contrast. Anybody visiting Duluth should go to the Rose Gardens, but it's not a nature site and it's full of tourists. And if you want a park-like setting, that's not the place to go. The place to go is called Egner Gardens, and it's up on the hill on the way to Miller Hill Mall. And there you'll find a mix of mostly locals. You see a few tourists, but it's mostly the locals that are up there. Now I show 3 arrows there, one to the right, one going straight ahead, and one off to the left. If you go to the right, there's a big gazebo or pergola type complex overlooking the lake. You climb up some steps to get up to the top, and you can see in the distance there, you can see the lift bridge. Since you're birders, you're going to have binoculars along, and so you can pull in some good views of the harbor down there from up there. Nice vantage point. If you go up the center, well, that takes you back to the Japanese garden that's back in there. And it's got quite a history. It's very, very peaceful. They did a great job. It's just a nice place to go and enjoy the solitude. You'll hear some birds up there too. And then they have this big bell tower. You'll probably also hear that because every kid up there has to dong it, which has quite a history. It comes from the Duluth sister city in O'Hare, Japan. And there's quite a story associated with it that deals with World War II and that, but I won't go into that. We just don't have time. But anyhow, worth the visit. There's a big plaque there that explains everything. And then if you go off to the left, that's where Anger Tower itself is, which was built back in, I think, 1921 and was dedicated by the King and Queen of Norway. But it's a 5-story tower and you can climb it. It's been restored and is open now. And you have some really neat views. There's looking again, toward the harbor area. Here's looking up the St. Louis River, looking inland in what's, I guess you could say, what's left of the estuary there. And then here, looking the other way, there's a golf course and then off into the hills. But it's worth the climb, definitely worth the climb. Okay, now moving into Duluth proper, getting down by, this is on the west side of Duluth. If you're familiar at all with Duluth, Superior Street runs right through the town. Starts on the west end, runs right on through downtown and out, and goes all the way through the east end out to the Leicester River. On the west end, which has not really been developed, it's pretty industrial and in some areas run down. It's kind of the other side of the tracks part of Duluth, but it's really coming around. It's really being restored. And you'll find, and this is, I know this is me personally and a lot of other people too, during the summer, we rarely go down to the canal. There's too many tourists. But if you go to the west end of Duluth around 19th Avenue West and 20th, somewhere in that vicinity, you will find several restaurants. You'll find a couple of brew houses. You'll find some boutiques that are opening. You'll find at least 2 wine bars. It's an ice cream shop. It's really a neat area. And that's where you'll find the locals. Like I say, we avoid the canal area during the summer, and we're now heading for West Duluth. And right in that area is Lincoln Park. It's Miller Creek coming down from the Miller Creek Mall up there. There's some kids in a swimming hole. It's a beautiful little park in there. You can see there's somebody walking. There's a walking path along here. It goes up quite a ways, maybe a half mile or so, and then comes back down the other side on a roadway. Lots of little miniature waterfalls in there. A lot, so they're not that large or impressive, but great sound effects, really great sound effects from them. So it makes for a very nice, relaxing stroll. And at the end, there is more of a waterfall there, and you can see right up here, there's a bridge, walk bridge going across. So you can go across and come back down the other side. But a nice little park to visit down in that area, as well as some of the restaurants that are down in there. Now let's skip over the downtown area and go to East Duluth. And there you have, not too far from downtown is Chester Creek. And this is actually, the Superior Hiking Trail goes through there, because the Superior Hiking Trail winds its way down to the Rose Garden and then starts back up again. So it's on its way to Hartley Nature Center here. But this part, this creek, Chester Creek, it's got 3 waterfalls. Here you see in the 2 of them right here, and then right in here, if you got high water, there's a 3rd one. So in the spring, you've got 3 waterfalls right there. It's a beautiful trail going through there. I should say that this creek, Chester Creek in here, and Fisher Creek this is the next one coming up, are both hiking trails where if you get down in there, you will never know that you're in Duluth. You will totally think you're in a state park further up the shore. So here's the trail. It reminds me of the song, "You take the high road and I'll take the low road." Again, along there, there's a couple of places where you can cross over the creek and come back down the other side. Waterfalls in there in different places. But just, again, you get down in there, you'll never know you're in Duluth. you don't hear anything or see anything either. And further up is Tisher Creek. This is the one that actually flows down by the Glensheen Mansion. And there's a little park there called Condon Park. And this is all there is to it. But right in here, there's a little path and a set of stone steps that goes down to the creek. And once you get down there, you're in heaven. There's, I think, 3 or 4 different footbridges crossing the creek, so you can zigzag back and forth. Just a neat place. And I don't know if you can see it very well here. This tree, I watched it for years. It's a cedar. It starts up above here, and it grew straight down. And then for years, and then finally, maybe after it had been growing for 10 years or so, it said to itself, "Whoops, wrong way." And now you can see it's made a big arch here and is going back and growing upwards. So I don't know what that's all about, but it's always been fun to watch it. So this is my wife Helen over here. Here's some cascades going along. You can see they built in steps down in here as well. There's the cascades again. There's several other little waterfalls scattered in there. So just a great place to visit. Again, really get away from it all. And there's any number of places where you can actually get down and put your feet in the water. Our grandkids have done it many times down in there. Okay. The next place I put in this for the Master Naturalist presentation, because this is Webbwoods. Larry Weber, whom this is named after, is an educator up here that used to take his classes into Webbwoods, into this woods here for years and years. And after they retired, the city bought the property and named it after him. He's written several books on mushrooms, on different plants. He's got 2 or 3 different books, naturalist type books out, just kind of diaries of his journeys around northern Minnesota. So he's quite well known in the naturalist circles. But anyhow, it's just a small park. I don't know, 20 acres or so. But again, when Helen and I went there, we had it all to ourselves. There's nobody else in there. So it's just a nice area. It'd be a nice area to do some birding. We weren't in there for that purpose at the time. Helen is there taking some photos. The marsh marigolds coming up. You've got the trails going through there to follow. There's just kind of roam around. There's a herd of deer in there. And we were there in the spring. So here's the trillium coming up and the jack in the pulpit. Maple's starting to bud out. Then going beyond that is the Bagley Nature Center. And this is at UMD. It's on the north side of UMD. And this is one of my favorite spots in the Duluth area. The nature area, it's a large area. There's a huge pond in there, which would be good for birding as well around there. I think it looks to me like it's been dredged. It was probably a swamp that they dredged out. But then behind that is just gorgeous hardwoods down below, and you can climb up the hill. It's a rather steep climb, but a nice trail to where you're up on top. And up on top, the Superior Hiking Trail also runs through. Superior Hiking Trail seems like it's everywhere. But there's an observation area up there with some beautiful views of the Duluth campus. And then over on the side here, you can see Minnesota Point going out there. So the main part of Duluth is over here, but this is all campus area here. And these pictures were taken during the summer, but during the fall, it's gorgeous up here. Beyond that, beyond the Bagley Nature Center, if you go a couple more miles further inland, you come to the Hartley Nature Center. And this is a big preserve And they've got a building there. They run a lot of classes and workshops for the kids. It's really quite a program. I'd like to say, or I would like to say that this was all our property and I donated it and I built the building for them and so on. But in fact, we are not related in any way to the Hartleys that were involved in all of this. They were early pioneer lumber and iron ore barons in Duluth, and we're newcomers. But it's a great spot. Beautiful building. Lots of birds around here, lots of birds. And they do a lot to promote them with different areas. This whole area in the front here is a big butterfly garden. Nice trails. The trails are quite wide and they're very handicapped accessible for the most part. So this is a rarity in Duluth. The trails where you can get to where it's pretty gentle walking, and for the most part, you can walk hand in hand. You don't have to go single file. You can rent canoes there. They've got a nice pond. And we were there one winter and the rime ice was just spectacular. Those spikes were, a lot of them were 1.5 inches, just absolutely gorgeous. So it's both Bagley and Hartley are two spots I would definitely recommend if you're looking for nature sites in Duluth. And then, of course, there's Hawk Ridge. I don't have to tell you about this. I'm sure you're all, or most of you are quite familiar with it. It's the place to go in September and October, early October anyway. So naturally, what I'm going to say is stay away from there in September and October. Go there in spring and go there in the summer. If you go there in the spring, or the summer rather, this is what it looks like. You notice there's no cars, there's no nothing there. I've got it all to myself. If you've been there during September and the early part of October, you know you can hardly get through here. There's just so many cars around and so many people. It becomes a big traffic jam up there. But the rest of the year, you can have it all to yourself. And you still have the beautiful views. You have those all year round. Incidentally, they close that road as part of the Skyline Drive. They close it in the winter. If you want to get in there during the winter, you have to snowshoe or cross-country ski up there. The road closes about 1 mile south of the ridge itself, the top of the ridge. But if you're there any other time of the year, the thing to do is behind the observation platforms, there are some hiking trails. And they weave around up there on top of the ridge. There's 2 or 3 different ones you can take. Some of them are pretty well, maintained. You've got boardwalk there over a swampy area. There's a little more rustic. But if you're hiking around in there, you can run across lots of birds in there. It's a nice area. I think it's pretty well populated with birds throughout the year. Now, when I'm doing it during the summer or something, you're not going to have all the hawks flying overhead. If you're lucky, you might find a turkey vulture or something, but that'll be about the limit. But anyhow, it's just a nice place to go. Beyond there, a little bit further, is the Luster River. And this is also mentioned in a couple of the books, this area here for birding. To go there, well, here's a view of just below the Luster River Park there. This is below the railroad trestle, and the tourist trains stop on the railroad trestle. And that's where they actually then start to back up, the short ones that don't go all the way to Two Harbors. So the local kids love to put on a performance for the passengers on the train. They're up there just diving and jumping. There's a rope swing over here. I don't know how they get a hold of it, but they must have some way of catching it. And there is a family of belted kingfishers that live in there. I've seen them several times. Now, if you go to the end of the park itself, you walk in over this stone bridge where I've got the arrows here. I'm just indicating that there are hiking trails going on both sides of the river. And they're just very nice hiking trails running up the river itself. You can get access to it in a number of places. You got a lot of little miniature waterfalls in different places. You've got at least one good-sized waterfall. I think there's either 6 or 7 waterfalls in this stretch. There's one of the bigger ones. And then you come to a bridge over the river and you can come back down the other side. Or what a lot of people don't realize, the trail up to this point is pretty well maintained. But beyond this point, there's a footpath that goes up along the river further and an old bridge up there that allows you to cross and come back on the footpath. So you don't have to stop just at this one. You can go upstream quite a ways. Adjacent to it, the Lester River, actually flowing into it, right underneath the railroad trestle that we were talking about earlier, is Amity Creek. And that's accessed by simply from that bridge where we were going upstream, just simply walk across the park through the playground and you come to the creek on the other side. And if you walk up the creek a ways, you'll come to a waterfall with a little gazebo there. And there's a bridge over the gazebo. You can go down. It's easy to get on the rocks below the waterfall and go down and explore and wade or swim or whatever. Just, it's a gorgeous spot. In general, like here, and I can show you in a couple other places, if there may be a lot of tourists, but they're around the parking areas and so on. If you're willing to walk a half a mile, you pretty much have a lot of this stuff to yourself. And this is an example. For the most of the time, you can be down on these rocks. There's nobody else around. And then crisscrossing across Amity Creek is the 7 Bridges Road. You've got all these beautiful stone bridges that were built back in around the turn of last century. On there, and this is actually then turns into Skyline Drive, and if you followed these bridges on up, you'd wind up back up at Hawk Ridge again. So again, there's a number of places there where you can park. You can get down along the rivers themselves, or the creek itself. Now, moving out of Duluth and up toward Two Harbors, about 5 miles out of town is this Lake County Demonstration Forest. And this is just a nice spot. I've never really tried to bird it. I take my grandkids there a number of times just to go hiking in the woods and that, but it's a beautiful little spot. The directions again are in the handout. It's a rarity in the North Woods because it does have vaulted toilets there. You don't find that in too many places. One of my favorite tours, there's 5 different hiking trails coming out of this area. And my favorite one is this woodland walking tour, which takes you down and around parts of Knife River. And Knife River up here is just a little creek, but it's just more interesting. The others one goes off into a white pine woods, another one goes down into a swampy area. There's a number of options, and there are maps available, interpretive maps that are available. They sometimes have them at the kiosk there, but oftentimes you have to go to the courthouse in Two Harbors to get one. So it's just a nice, I should say, it's a nice open area. They have a picnic shelter there, fire pit and picnic table and so on. You can see that's in and around this front area here, lots of beautiful white pine or Norway pine. It's to be in here, maybe having a picnic and listen to the wind going through those pines is just really great. Now let's move into Two Harbors itself. And I think a lot of you have probably been to Two Harbors. You're familiar with the lighthouse and Agate Bay and the boardwalk or the break wall running out that you can walk on and that, and the views of the ore docks and that. And that's where the tourists are for the most part. A small percentage of them will take this path around the the lighthouse. And here you can see it going around. There's a lot of wildlife. It's got a herd of deer back in there. And now normally for when I gave this to the Master Naturalist, I said, you know, park in the parking lot and get away from there as soon as possible. But if you're a birder, you want to spend some time in the parking lot. You want to go down right along the shoreline there and see what you can see, because you can see all sorts of stuff right along the shoreline. It's very, very popular with a lot of the shorebirds. And then out in the water, you see a lot of mergansers, golden eyes, quite a few different ducks there. This one here is common golden eye. She's having breakfast. If you notice, she's got a fish in her mouth. She just came up from a dive, and I think it's probably a small herring. I'm not sure, but I learned a valuable lesson because the moment she broke water there, that fish disappeared in her mouth. So the lesson I learned was when I'm photographing birds or ducks and they dive, and the moment I see them breaking water as they're starting to come up, I start firing the camera, because you only have a split second from the time they pop out to when, for example, in this case, that fish disappears. Anyhow, going around, continuing around the walk behind the lighthouse, you've got lots of access to the basalt lava flows, the 1.1 billion year old lava flows there. It's a great place. If you got grandkids along, they'll just love it out there. And in some of these little sheltered areas, the water even warms up a little bit. And then at the end, that lighthouse trail kind of merges into what they call the Sanyu Trail. And this is quite popular with birders, this particular trail here running along. It's all blacktopped and goes down to the Burlington Bay campground. Two Harbors gets its name because it's got two harbors. One is Agate Bay, the other where the lighthouse is, and the other is Burlington Bay where the campground is. And what a lot of people don't realize, though, from again getting back to the nature end of it, is while this trail walking along here is fairly popular, there's another trail that's just right along the lake itself. I shouldn't say trail, footpath along the lake itself. And you want to get over on that because you get access to a number of little pebble beaches all along here. So again, there's many times I've had the grandkids down there and we've had it all to ourselves. Going up then out of Two Harbors and heading up toward Silver Bay at Castle Danger. Well, Castle Danger is famous for a couple other things, but we'll talk about the couple of things that's famous for. One is that's where the Rustic Inn is, and after you do this hike, you want to stop in there and have pies. Here's a little secret: the tourists go to Betty's Pies in Two Harbors. The locals go to the Rustic Inn in Castle Danger, and their pie it blows Betty's Pies away. Personal opinion, and I think that's verified by where you see the locals go. Secondly, Castle Danger was the original home of Castle Danger Brewery up here, which has now since moved into Two Harbors proper. But anyhow, at Castle Danger, you've got access to the Superior Hiking Trail, and you can a quick walk from their parking lot gradually quickly turns into a vertical walk. So again, this is not for the faint of heart, but within with a quarter of a mile walk, a lot of it again being almost vertical, you've got beautiful views of Lake Superior and some of the shoreline running along there. This is kind of looking back toward Two Harbors. And you've got, in this case, it's the beautiful lime green on all these aspen. It's a spring photo. You go back in the fall and you've got all the beautiful oranges as they start to turn color. So that's just a great little mini hike. And then, like I said, you can go back to the rustic inn and have a piece of pie. Going on a little further, Gooseberry. Now, why Gooseberry? Everett's so well known. It's hardly a nature site. Well, yes and no. There is the Third Falls. Notice all these people, and this was not a particularly busy day, but notice all these people here. On a summer weekend, on a Saturday, let's say in July, they have as many as 5,000 people there. The cars back up and park out on Highway 61. It's an absolute zoo. I wouldn't go near the place. But we were here on a day, it was busy, it wasn't too bad, but we had the grandkids along and they wanted to go there. So I went and put up with it. But notice all these people here. This is at the lower falls where everybody is. Now, if you go to the Fourth Falls, which is just above the Highway 61, there's a lot less people. And then follow the trail around past the old visitor center. And I remember going in here when I was a kid. It was built by the CCCs back in the 1930s. It's a quaint old building. They've been restoring it. They're not totally sure what they're going to do with it. They're probably going to turn it into some sort of a interpretive type museum or something where they don't have to necessarily have staffing there. But for the time being, they're just maintaining it. So it's in pristine shape. But behind there, behind that old visitor center, are some steps and some well-built state park paths in through any swampy areas. And then it goes out along the river, the Gooseberry River, and you've got all sorts of access, direct access to the river. These are our grandkids down in here. We've got a lot of geological features such as these little potholes or kettos. And then as you go up a little ways further, you come to what they call the Fifth Falls. Now, the first thing to notice about this is we're thinking back at that other photo with all the people down below. Here are two people and their dog, and they're fishing. That's all that's up there. And this is a half a mile from the Highway 61 bridge. So a half a mile gives it all to yourself. There's another view of it a little closer up, and you can see there's a footbridge there. You can cross over and go back down the other side. Well worth it. And you, like I say, you get away, you leave pretty much everybody behind by heading up to the Fifth Falls. Now, Iona's Beach, a little further, is an SNA. It's quite popular. The beach itself, here's the Gitchigumi bicycle trail going through there. And then off to the right-hand side is the beach itself. And this is a set of, this was a rhyolite cliff. The two main rocks up here are basalt and rhyolite. This rhyolite's a little softer. This cliff, the lake wore it down, but the rocks in here are trapped because of just the geology here. So they've been worn smooth, and it's a huge beach, and it's quite popular. People like to go there and see how many they can skip back out into the lake and things like that. But if you turn around and go back the other way, out toward the lake, you'll find there's some pebble beaches there. Again, you can have them all to yourself. Very few people go there, but there is a footpath running along there. It goes out to the very end of the point, and there's a grassy area up at the top. and there's a fire ring there and a nice place just to go have a picnic. There's no facilities or anything like that. There are facilities back behind, but again, this whole walk to make this loop is probably a half mile, 2/3 of a mile, and well worth it. Now, the Split Rock River Wayside is an extremely popular place. Oftentimes you can't find a place to park here because people are hiking up the Split Rock River. And it's a gorgeous river. And if you've never been up there, you want to do it because there's 9 waterfalls on the way up to where the turnaround point. There's a bridge up there, Superior Hiking Trail Bridge, that a couple years ago washed out. They haven't rebuilt it yet. So you have to turn around and come back down the same side, or later in the summer, you can easily wade the river and come back down the other side. But it's also very, very popular and actually almost crowded during the summer. And what I like to do is go from there, actually go under take the tunnel under Highway 61, cross the bridge there, cross to the other side of the river, and then you immediately see a turn that takes you into the state park proper. This is Split Rock State Park. You're coming in the backside of it, and you go about a mile or so, and you come to a sign that says Corundum Point. And going up there, this is a site of a 3M mining facility. And there's a lot of history here going back to 1906. We don't have time to go into it. But in a nutshell, they were mining this. This was a quarry right in here. And they thought this was corundum, which is an extremely hard stone that they could use for making sandpaper and grindstones and stuff like that. So they were mining it. It turned out this is a northosite, which is a much softer stone, still relatively hard, but not soft enough to be, or not hard enough to be used for sandpaper and grindstones and that. And so everything they made started to disintegrate on them. They almost went out of business. They almost went bankrupt. And then they moved down to the Twin Cities and started over. But anyhow, if you look at, here's a piece of a northosite, the face of a cliff, and a piece fell off, flaked off. So you can see this is all weathered all the way around here. But this piece here, there's huge, very, very large crystals in there. And this will sparkle like a million diamonds if the sun hits it. It's just gorgeous. Anyway, the reason I'm going up through this quarry and that is, well, there's some of the old ruins there from their crushing plant. But you from up in there, you get a view of Split Rock that you can't get anywhere else. First, you're at eye level with it. And second, you can see all the buildings because you're out on a point that's out as far as the Split Rock point. So you're way out there and you can see the whole thing. You can't get this view anywhere else. And I have never yet seen another person back in there. I don't know. They must see the sign that says Corundum Point and realize it's a dead end and decide they're not going to walk out there. But it's the whole area up there is a big point, and you just have it all to yourself. It's a place you have to go in the spring, though, because once the leaves come out, it's very difficult to get a good view, at least one where you can use a camera. Now, we're getting closer to Silver Bay, but on the way you go through Beaver Bay, and I'm sure a lot of you recognize this. You're just approaching the Beaver River bridge here, and this is a popular spot. It's this parking lot is full. There's cars along the highway, everything else. I was probably there at 6 in the morning to catch this without anybody there. But it's a great spot to go. You walk out on the bridge, take a look at the river going north. There's a couple of waterfalls. Cross over to the other side. Take a look at the mouth of the river and the sandbar there, and so on. You can even go down and explore it some in that, but you're going to be with a lot of other people. So do this for the view. And then if you want a nice experience, go up County Road 4 there, a couple miles, and go to the Superior Hiking Trail trailhead and walk down. It's maybe a mile, and there's a campsite there. And during the day when you go there, there won't be anybody there because any the hikers are, they would have stayed there overnight and then they've moved on. So you can go there, you can have a picnic, have it all to yourself. There's a nice little waterfall there on the Beaver River, a great spot to just explore and swim or soak your feet, whatever. Again, some more of the geological features, the Keddos. These are identical to the ones up in Temperance River State Park, except they're much, much smaller. And so this is one spot. If you go a little further up the Beaver River, you come to a spot called Glen Avon. And this is one of my very favorite spots. And it's very, very few people know about it. There's just only room up at the top here for 2 or 3 cars to park. But that's okay, because I've never seen more than a couple cars there. So I would park up on top. I have driven down in here. I'll do it during the dry season. I want a high clearance vehicle. You don't want to go down there with a sedan. And you don't want to go down there if it's been raining, because even if you've got 4-wheel drive and that, this right in here is just, it's just mud, or clay rather. And it's slick as can be, your tires it'll just turn to grease down there. You won't get out. So best advice is park up at the top. But then when you walk down in there, you just got a beautifully wild area that's worthy of being a state park. If I had to pick one site up there that I would like to see made into a state park, it would be this Glen Avon. You've got about a half a mile of rapids and cascades going down the Beaver River here, which and there's a footpath along there, so you can go down there and explore. Here's going down in there a bit. Here's a couple of photographs. Here's some of the family. The nice thing about it is in the spring it's solid water. It's a wall of water. But during the summer, when the water's gone down, there's a lot of structure. You can go rock hopping, and so you can actually cross the stream in different places with jumping and so on. So you can have a lot of fun down in there. Anyhow, we take the family and go there quite often. There's some geological features. This is a rhyolite. They call this a dike that's came up through the rock. There's basalt on each side, but it forced its way up before the basalt was totally cool. And now this is looking upstream from that parking area there. And this, it seems like you should be in a canoe. You should be thinking, is that portage to the next lake up this little channel here, or is it down a little further? I mean, this is right out of the Boundary Waters. It's such an ideal spot there. Now, one last spot, we're at Silver Bay proper, is Black Beach. This I've almost pulled out of here because it's no longer a hidden gem. They've put in a big campground there at Silver Bay right next to this. So if you want to go there, I'd say go early in the morning, certainly during the week, not on the weekends. It's just packed now on weekends. But you have a nice pebble beach. There's 2 beaches there. One's a pebble beach. And then if you drive a little further, there's another parking lot. And this is Black Beach. All this fine black sand here is actually taconite tailings from when they used to be dumped back into the lake back in the 1960s. And they've washed up in here. This big rock has caught them, and they're kind of trapped. So again, it's a nice spot. We like to go there. Kids like to go there and wade and play around and that, but not on weekends during the summer. when the campground is in full swing. Now, like I said, I had a bonus site at the end. We're finally there. And if you go up to Tetagooch State Park, which is just 4 miles beyond Silver Bay, go past that beautiful visitor center they just built, and go up to where the road, Highway 1 goes off to go up to Ely. And then cross the bridge, and you can see I parked there. There's a wide area on the other side of the bridge. And then there's 2 footpaths, one going down, one going up. Now, this is all part of the state park. It's all part of Tetagooch. And you're welcome to go in there and roam around as much as you want. They just don't have the financial resources to develop this side. So they haven't put in regular, trails and things like that. But if you follow this one down, you've got a beautiful beach, Pebble Beach down in there that's, maybe 200 to 300 yards long. And it's just a nice spot down in there. Nice spot to go agate hunting, although you're not supposed to take agates, pick up agates in the state park. Now, if you go the other way, you saw the upward arrow. It takes you up with some beautiful overlooks, looking over the area. This area right down in here, that's that beach I was talking about. It's down in here, the Pebble Beach. Looking out a little further, you're looking at the backside of Shovel Point, and right there is where the viewing platforms and that are at the very end of Shovel Point. If you turn and you look the other way, looking up towards Schroeder and Tofty, you can see the Sawtooth Mountains running along there. And again, just nice shoreline views. And the whole area, you're free to roam as much as you want. It's rare. Once in a while, I'll see another car parked there and in there. There's enough people in there that there's some footpaths, but it's certainly not a well-known tourist spot. So anyhow, that basically concludes the presentation. I had just a couple other things to show you real quick. Much as I like the North Shore and all these spots, I've got another favorite spot, and it's inland. It's northwest of Duluth. And on the way over there, I sometimes stop at the Canosia Wildlife Refuge, north of Duluth there. And there's a big osprey nest there. There's the female in there, the male's coming in, and you can guess what's going on. And there he's taking off again, and then he comes back down, and now they're just a little, I guess you'd call it pillow talk going on. But what's interesting is there's all this is done with a bunch of gawkers, because there's also a heron rookery there. And so there's quite a few herons. This is earlier in the season. They're still waiting for the females to show up. So they're standing by the nest. But then this is on my way over to one of my favorite spots that's off the North Shore, one that I think a lot of you know about. I've been there 3 times so far this year, and it's Zak-Zim Bog. So when do you go to Zak-Zim Bog? Well, you go there during the winter. That's the most popular time of the year. And you go there to see the owls, the great grays and the barred and the boreals and the northern hawk owls. You also go there to see the woodpeckers, the black-backed and the 3-toed woodpeckers. They're a real popular find this time of the year. But you also go there in the spring. Spring is a beautiful time over there. And you go there to see the warblers. This is only just a few of the warblers there. They're on. This is kind of a little more difficult for people down in the Twin Cities unless you stay overnight. But they have what they call Warbler Wednesdays in May, And it's usually Sparky and then Clinton Ninehouse that lead them, and start at 6 a.m. in the morning, 6 to 10. And it's just a fun time to go out and spot all the different warblers. But also go there in the summer. Oh, I should also say, you'll also find a lot of sparrows, field sparrows around there in the spring before the grasses get too thick. You can spot them. You never see them in the summer. But go there during the summer too. It's a gorgeous place. And you'll find all sorts of meadowland birds available, particularly the bobolinks and the meadowlarks. And in the fall, the day I was there, for this particular photo, I was there for 4 or 5 hours and never saw another car. People just don't think about going over there in the fall. But again, you got your migrating birds going through, the grouse, or there, there's always something. So at any rate, that basically winds it up. And I thank you very much for all your time and attention. At least I hope your attention, but because I can't see. But anyhow, if anybody has any questions, I think, Ben, you had a chat thing going, or we can open the mics or whatever you want to do.
Yeah, there's a couple of questions. Ben, I don't know if are you there, Ben? Yeah, okay, I'll see if I can find the questions here. Well, I don't see any questions right now.
Okay, can you hear me, Phil?
Yeah,
oh,
I can hear you. Yeah.
All right, we got a couple. First one's from Lynn. How many of these spots would be featured at a Duluth area birding festival? I don't know if that's a particular festival, or she's just saying they all be used. I would think so.
Yeah, that I guess I can't answer. I don't know on that. I would think a couple of them would definitely be. If there's a birding festival in Duluth, I would certainly think the Western Waterfront Trail, for one, would definitely be in there. I don't know what else would be.
Hey, Phil, go ahead and unshare your screen, and that will open it up so you can see some of the people that are here. We ended up with 100. We ended up with 100 cameras. So I'm sure there were people out in the hall that couldn't get in, but we'll get it posted tomorrow.
Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to.
Let's see if I can.
Yeah. Okay, there we go. Yeah.
So yeah, you got. Hi, folks.
Yeah. Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this goes on
for Ellen there, and I'm not sure who's with you, but pour me a glass too.
It looks like you're getting a lot of appreciation for your presentation. Thanks for sharing secrets, and it was great. And I thought it was really wonderful.
There's a question that just came in about anything to see at Zach Zim in March. Early March is not too bad. I think it's not open this year because of COVID, but normally the visitor center is open till like about March 10th or so. And after that, things, the northern birds have pretty much moved out. I'd be leery about going there toward the end of March and into April, because once the thaw starts, those roads are just horrendous, just terrible. Someone else asked about, I see the one about the northern lights. There's a couple of spots. What you need is a lake where there's a dock or a parking area, access basically on the south side, so you can look to the north. And near two harbors, there's Stewart Lake. And then also, if you go north of Duluth a little bit, there's Island Lake and Boulder Lake. Boulder Lake in particular has got a parking lot that gives you lake access, and there's some structures, some islands and trees and that out there that's very, very popular for Northern Lights photography.
You have a question here. What road were you showing at J. Cook Park at the beginning? I don't know what.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's described in the handout. I really recommend people go to follow that link and take a look at the handout. But what I'm doing is I'm driving south out of Carlton, and there's only one road south. You know, Carlton is one of those streets with the intersecting roads right at in the heart of town. And if you turn south, I think it's County Road 1, but you go south about 1.5 miles or so, and the very first road to your left, Lamar Road, will take you back into that parking area in the back end of J. Cook State Park.
Where is Zim Bog, please?
You go up Highway 53 from Duluth, or from a lot of people, if they're coming from the cities, would take the exit and go through Croquet and up to intersect with 53. And you go about from that intersection, I think it's 33 and 53, you go about another, say 12 miles, 15 miles, and you'll see a sign that says Meadowlands. And I think the highway going over there is 133. But anyhow, you turn and you head toward Meadowlands. And just as you're approaching Meadowlands, as you're coming into town, there's a road going off to the north. And that'll take you basically right on up to the visitor center. And the bog is not just one area. There's, somebody just pointed out at zagzimbog.org, you can download a map. But it's an area. It's not just a specific spot other than the visitor center. And you just check in there to see where people have been sighting birds and stuff, and then go from there.
Thank you.
That was terrific, Phil.
I think that's it then, Ben.
Yeah.
I think we're good.
Yeah, thank you very much, Phil.
Okay, all right, yeah, thank you now.
I'll talk to Don. We've got an honorarium coming to you for speaking, and
And I will donate it to the bog.
Okay, perfect. I was gonna say you could buy film, but okay. All right, to the Saxon, that'd be great. We'll make sure that happens.
Well, thanks again, everyone.
Yeah, thank you, Phil. Thank you
Stay
very
warm,
much.
stay safe.
Okay, yeah, you too. Bye now.
Bye. So I guess you've got the check all cleared already.
I have somebody on the board. I don't sit on the board anymore, so
Yeah.
we'll just let Don or whoever.
Phil, you must have gotten the notice of that, right? You sent,
I think Phil's gone.
oh, he's gone. Okay.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. Well,
I'm going to turn out the lights when everybody's gone.
okay, right, fine. That was quite a presentation.
Don, thank you for pulling that together. That was a great presentation.
Yeah, we had a lot of people there. It was really a surprise that
We're going to hear about it tomorrow, that people that showed up at 2 minutes after 7 couldn't get in. That's the first time that's ever happened.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
No,
Yeah.
this is 83, 82 was our top ever. So we hit 100, not knowing how many were knocking at the door. So
I think it was the right presentation for the right time,
Yes.
because of course with COVID, people want to get out and, they don't want to get out with a lot of other people,
Yep.
So I think this really helped out as well. So,
Yep. And to show, South American birds is cute, but you can't travel, so it's not real. So this is
Yeah,
very
right.
real. This is
that's right. Yeah, it's very real. Yeah. Okay, Ben, thank you.
Thank you.
for handling all of this. I'm glad you're there because this kind of stuff makes me really nervous.
no problem. All right.
Okay.
Take
Have a
care.
good evening.
Take care.